Welcome back to another episode of the Black Bob Ross. I'm glad you could join us today. Last week I wanted to put out a video, but I didn't. It was a video on how to improve your art. And I didn't put it out because I watched another video by Ryan Kingslein. And I'll actually put a link to his page. You guys should check him out. He's really good. He teaches like a lot of anatomy stuff. But he put out a video on why we don't improve art, and it kind of went in line with a lot of the things I was saying, and it helped me realize some things that I hadn't realized before on what it takes to improve your art. And so I wanted to take some extra time to kind of sort things out a little bit instead of putting out just my information, finding a way to incorporate his information as well because I really liked the way he described it. So what I have on screen right now is actually an old sculpt I did. Both of these sculpts are going to be about a year apart. One was done in December of 2015, the other was November of 2016. And it can show you how much I've really improved. I know it's not perfect, and I see now a lot of things that, need to be changed, need to be fixed, but, I can definitely see an improvement, and I'm happy with the result that I got back in November, but that's probably because I've increased my skill even more now here in January. So, Ryan Kinsley kind of went over this idea of there are three stages, right? You have how he described it was the library, the training room, and the arena, right? And this is where it kind of blended in with uh, my idea where you needed a section to fail. You needed to just do it. You needed to just try it. And then you have your work that you do to put out, to show everybody. You know? So I pretty much sculpt every day. Even if I don't post anything every day, I'm modeling something because I'm trying to get that experience. And I didn't realize I was doing this until I watched the Kingsley on Ryan Kingsley. And so you have your library, and this is another thing that I do is I usually dedicate one day to doing nothing but studying. So my day is, you think it's a wasted day, but I sit there and watch tutorials. I learn new techniques. I just get lost in the rabbit hole of YouTube, and I dedicate a whole entire day to that because I know if I do it any other day, I'm not going to get work done, you know? So, you know, uh, by dedicating a single day to it, I can go as deep into the rabbit hole as I want to, until the day's over. Then other times I'm sculpting, you know, looking at my anatomy books and, you know, taking tips from other people and whatnot, just trying to build my skill. It's not work that I'm going to retopo. It's not work that I'm going to render. If you're not watching me stream, you probably won't see it. I may incorporate it into some of my YouTube videos, every now and then. And I'll probably put some of those videos up on Patreon. Um, but otherwise, I'm not really going to be posting them to social media. Uh, They're failures, but I don't see them as failures because I get better every time. I've made about 17 different head sculpts um, just in the past few months. And with every head sculpt, I'm getting better and better and better. And I actually had a good buddy of mine. His name is Larvantholos, I believe is how you pronounce it. I just call him Larva. I'll also put a link to his Tumblr in the description. He's pretty good. He does this, like really surreal sci-fi stuff. But he really helped me on one of the faces I did. And I think that's another important part is getting critiques, getting help. Because once he helped me, helped me with that face, things clicked. Like I just got it. I had my base, where I was getting at least stuff that looked like a person, you know. And he went and told me some of the finer details, the things that make it more of a less of a person and more of a human, you know, which is really what I needed. For a while now, I really haven't had a mentor or somebody to critique me, but if you can find somebody, go and ask them for their help. Ask them to critique you. Ask them to be harsh about it, because I've never gotten better from people telling me good things about my art. A few years ago, I had a comic book artist who I really looked up to. His name is Michael, and I'll have a link to his social medias as well. But you know, he always made these amazing, detailed, beautiful comics. And I really looked up to him. And he worked at the local comic shop. So I would take my sketchbook to him every week when I would go and play Friday Night Magic, and you know, while I go and play a game, he just looks over the work I tell him to look over, and he would rip it to shreds. He'd ask me if it's okay to draw over it, and I'd always say, of course. Like I knew that the art wasn't where I wanted to be, and I knew that it wasn't for a client. I wasn't going to be showing it off. It was just in my personal sketchbook. So I told him, he could draw over it, do any draw overs he needed to, and he would mark up my sketchbooks, and it actually really helped. You know, with him showing me where I was going wrong, and how to improve, and he gave me tips on what I should be looking at as far as um, where to get my muscle reference, where to get my pose references. you know so having someone there of a higher skill level to kind of help you out, to kind of critique you, it really helps. It really does help. I mean, like, I can't really draw anymore because I completely switched to 3D. My drawing's stuck. All of my concept art are on sticky notes, and they're quick sketches. There's a picture I put up of the concept of this little worm guy I made and the 3D model, and they look nothing alike. But somehow I got the 3D model from my sticky notes. But that's all right. Sometimes you got to do some artist shorthand, you know. But another thing to keep in mind when improving on your art is keep your confidence up. I've seen so many great artists, talk about how bad they are, how much they suck, how they're not good enough to do whatever it is they want to do. But that's not helping you improve. If you're always saying that you're a bad artist, you're going to improve slower, because that goes into your mind that you're bad, that you're not improving, and it's going to do nothing but discourage you. You know, don't even think of it as being conceited. You know, maybe you can see it as me saying, "Oh, I'm a pretty decent artist," as being conceited, but no, I know where I stand compared to other people. I know that my character art is lacking, and I'm trying to build that as fast as I can. But I also know that my environment art is pretty good. And that simply just comes from I prefer modeling things rather than people, you know? But be realistic about where you are. Don't put yourself down. And that's what I find to be the biggest thing on where people fail is that they want to put themselves down. It's not that they have to put themselves down. No, they want to. It's a choice to put your art down. At the same time, don't put yourself higher than you really are. You know, if you make a piece of crap work, like I did, in this 2015 piece, I knew that was bad. You know, I knew that was a really bad piece, and I was realistic about it, and knew that it wouldn't pass anywhere for anything. It's not going to go in a movie, not going to go in a game, even a low budget game. It was bad anatomy. As simple as that. It was bad anatomy. But this 2016 one is usable. In fact, a lot of the things that's wrong with it, I can probably just fix with the move brush. You know, some of the muscles don't connect quite properly. Some muscles are missing. I'm pretty sure I've made up muscles inside of there. But as long as it's not being used for, medical studies, which it's not, it looks good enough that I can put it into a game environment, that I can put it into um, a movie if it, has good textures. Not a high budget movie, but I'm pretty sure you can go to a sci-fi original. I mean, some of the stuff they have on sci-fi is ridiculous, and I don't know how they got it on TV. But that's that's just the thing is that I'm I'm happy with the sci-fi channel quality. You know, if I can get it to that quality, I'm happy with it. I think that is a success, and that is part of my arena. That is the part of the work that I'm going to be putting out. I know eventually I'm going to be getting to, ILM and, Pixar quality stuff, and I'm hoping eventually I can get to hyper realistic stuff. Maybe one day, you know. But, you know, I'm satisfied with where the 2016 one was, and that's part of my arena. The 2015 version of the body, that was my training ground. And in between there, I had a whole lot of study time. You know, break it down into those. Is have your study time, have your time that you're trying things out. If there's a particular shape of a muscle you're having problems with, open up ZBrush or Maya or Blender or whatever 3D program you use and just sculpt it out. You know, if there's a particular shape that, you're trying to get a grasp on, watch tutorials on it and just do it. If you're looking at a hair tutorial, you don't need a face, just make a sphere and practice that hair technique on top of that sphere. And that's kind of just how you get to your training ground, right? That's just your library. You're watching tutorials, you're trying out new things. Get into your training ground and just do it. Just don't even think about it. Don't even think about, oh, I want my art to look good. No, it doesn't need to look good. It doesn't need to be a good model. You simply need to just try it, you know? I mean, you don't want it to suck, but you want to put everything you have into it, but you need to fail. That's the most important part, is that you need to fail, because when you make a mistake, you're probably not going to make a mistake twice, you know? So you get into, building, 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 and once you're happy with the results you're coming out with, that's when you put it in the arena. And that's when you put everything you have. That's the piece that you're going to show off, right? So when you show it off, that's when you need to send it to somebody to critique. Let them tell you what's wrong with it, you know? Get another pair of eyes on your models. You know, that That's huge because you sit there looking at your model for hours and hours and hours, and you get fatigued. You start missing things. Maybe sometimes you just need to get up, leave the room, or come back to your models a few days later. It took me like 2 weeks to realize that on my 2016 model, the abs were completely flat. Like I 3D printed this model, and it was the most amazing thing, when I first made it. 2 weeks later, I haven't been paying attention to it. Finally, I pick it up one day randomly, and I see that the abs are flat. You know, that's a little thing that I had no clue. I didn't even notice it in ZBrush. You would think you would notice it, but I had no clue. I looked at it from the side multiple times as well, and I was like, all right, this looks right. Time to work on the back some more. Oh, this looks right. Let's work from the front some more. Okay, well, what about all these muscles on the side? I didn't realize that the muscles on the front didn't have the right silhouette from the side. You know, my pecs look all right. They have kind of that rounded bulge to them, but the abs don't. You know, I needed to fail to never make that mistake again, because now I don't make that mistake. Whenever I'm making models now, I always remember, oh man, I messed up on the abs last time. Now they're always rounded. But this doesn't just go for anatomy. This goes for anything and everything. Whenever you're making something, if you're trying to make a sci-fi space marine helmet, you know, you need to fail. You need to make bad silhouettes. You need to make bad design choices. You need to make a mess where you're using square elements next to triangle elements, next to spherical elements, next to cylindrical elements. Just make a mess of things to try and realize where things went wrong, and then fix those. Fix those the next time you try a similar project. So to wrap everything up before this video gets too long, make sure you have a study ground. Make sure that you're studying, learning new techniques, trying out those new techniques. Make sure you have a training ground where you're going in and making models that are meant to fail, but things that you're meant to learn from. Even if nobody sees them, you're doing them. And then have an arena where you're putting out work that you're proud of, putting out the best of your ability. Don't get into a comfort zone where you're happy where you're at, where you're happy with that sci-fi channel level stuff. Always reach for the next goal. And then when you have your best stuff out, get it critiqued. It doesn't matter by who, get it critiqued. Let them tell you where things have gone wrong, so that later on you can go and fix them. Well, that's all I have for you today, guys. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll be coming out with more videos and more tips and more scopes as well. As well as check out my Patreon. I added a whole bunch of stuff to it, and I'll be putting in some, exclusive items in there. As well as I'll be putting in the links of all the people who I said, Larvantholos, Michael, and Ryan Kingsley, down in the description. So check them out. Again, thanks for watching, and this has been the DU1. All three of them.